Have you ever felt that strange sensation when someone smiles at you, but something inside you screams that it's not real? Have you noticed that the more you evolve, the harder it becomes to accept the same things that used to seem normal? Well, something's happening to you. And no, you're not becoming annoying or difficult. Actually, you're waking up. And waking up to the reality of things has a price that nobody warned you you'd have to pay. That price is called clarity. And clarity hurts. Because when you start seeing the world as it really is, without filters and without illusions, everything changes. Conversations that used to seem light now sound empty. Smiles that were friendly now seem mechanical. And that friend you thought was so cool? Well, now you see the intentions behind every word they say. Awakening isn't a gift of enlightenment and peace. It's a painful process of seeing the raw, naked truth. And the truth, my friend, is rarely pretty. But hold on, because understanding this can save your sanity. Come with me, and I'll show you exactly what happens when you wake up, and why it distances you from so many people. You know that ability you didn't ask to have? The one where you look at a person and feel something's wrong, even when they're saying exactly what they should say? Well, that's not paranoia. It's your brain picking up signals that used to fly right past you. When you wake up, your nervous system becomes a walking lie detector. And the worst part is you don't control it. You can't turn it off. You start noticing tiny things. The way someone's voice changes when they lie. That microsecond when the smile doesn't reach the eyes. The way a person looks away when talking about a certain subject. Your whole body reacts. You feel a tightness in your chest, discomfort in your stomach, an urge to get out of there. It's not being picky or fussy. It's your internal system screaming that something doesn't add up, that there's fakeness in the air. And the strangest part? You don't need to think about it. It happens automatically. It's like your mind downloaded new software that translates what people really mean underneath the pretty words. Except nobody gave you the manual on how to handle this constant translation. You just stand there, noticing everything, feeling everything, and wondering if everyone was always like this, or if you're the one who changed. The answer is simple. Everyone was always like this. You just didn't see it. And now that you see it, there's no way to pretend you don't. That's the curse of awakening. Once you see, there's no going back. And that puts you in a very lonely position, because most people are still asleep, and they like sleeping. Waking up hurts too much. So you find yourself stuck in this reality where you can read between the lines all the time, but you have to live in a world where nobody wants you to read. Where everyone prefers to maintain the fantasy. And there you are, in the middle, trying to decide whether to pretend you don't see or accept the discomfort of being the one who sees too much. Now comes the part everyone does, but nobody admits. The automatic greetings. The "hey, how are you" that nobody wants the real answer to. The "let's get together soon" that everyone knows won't happen. Before awakening, you played this social game without even thinking. It was natural. It was part of it. Everyone does it, so it's fine, right? Except now it's not fine anymore. Now every fake "how are you" you hear feels like it's scratching your soul. You see the person saying the right words, but their body is screaming something else. The mouth smiles, but the shoulders are tense. The eyes look at you, but the mind is already somewhere else. It's all so programmed, so rehearsed, so empty. And the worst part is you remember when you did this without thinking. You remember when you were a kid and said things from the heart. When "I like you" was true. When a hug was really a hug. Not that pat on the back that's more like social protocol. There was a purity to it, a simplicity. You said what you felt and that was it. But then you grew up. You learned the rules. You learned there are things you can't say. That there are right ways to act. That you need to smile even when you don't want to. And you kept doing it until it became automatic. Until one day you woke up. And realized you lost that simple truth along the way. Now when someone comes at you with empty talk, you feel physical repulsion. It's not snobbery. It's that your body rejects fakeness like spoiled food. You can't swallow it anymore, and that makes you seem rude to others. Makes you seem unfriendly, because you don't play the game anymore. You don't smile back automatically. You don't fake interest where there isn't any. And you know what's saddest? Most people don't even realize they're doing this. They really think that smile is genuine, that conversation is interesting, that concern is real. They're not lying on purpose. They're just repeating patterns they learned. They're on autopilot in social life, and you just turned off your autopilot. That's why it hurts so much. You know that friend who only shows up when they need something? Or that person who's super attentive when you can offer something useful, but disappears when you're no longer useful? Well, that always existed. But before, you didn't see it so clearly. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You thought it was coincidence. That they were busy. That they'd reciprocate next time. But after awakening, the pattern becomes too obvious to ignore. You realize many of your relationships aren't based on real affection. They're based on exchange, on convenience, on mutual utility. And when the utility ends, the friendship evaporates with it. And that breaks something inside you. Because you always believed those people liked you. That they cared. That they'd be there if you needed them. But then you really need them. And where is everyone? Gone. They're busy. Can't right now. But when they needed you, you were there. Always were. This discovery hurts more than any obvious betrayal. Because it's subtle. It's slow. It's a realization that grows gradually until you can't deny it anymore. And when you finally accept that it was never real, you feel a huge emptiness. A mourning for something you thought you had but never really did. And the worst part is you can't even complain about it without seeming bitter. People will say you're being negative. That you're seeing problems where there aren't any. That friendship is like that. It has ups and downs. But you know that's not it. You know the difference between a real friend and a convenient contact. And that difference now screams in your face. So you start pulling away. Not out of pride, not out of anger, but because you can't sustain the illusion anymore. Can't pretend everything's okay when it's not. Can't keep investing energy in relationships that only work when you're useful. And this distance is natural. It's self-preservation. It's you choosing your peace of mind over social acceptance. There's a specific moment that changes everything. It's when you're in a conversation and the person says something that sounds beautiful. The words are perfect. The tone is appropriate. But you feel that underneath there's something else. There's a hidden intention. An unspoken objective. Manipulation disguised as care. Before, you didn't catch this. You believed the words because they were beautiful. Because they made sense. Because you wanted to believe. But now you've developed this internal radar that detects real intentions. And it doesn't miss. It never misses. You notice when someone compliments you to get something. When someone flatters you to control you. When someone fakes vulnerability to gain your sympathy. When someone offers help to put you in emotional debt. These are subtle games, soft tactics, velvet manipulation. And the most disturbing thing is many people do this without even realizing it. It's not conscious malice. It's a social survival strategy they learned. It's the way they know how to get what they want without seeming selfish. But to your new radar, all of this becomes transparent. You see through it. And that generates automatic repulsion. Not because you think you're better. Not because you're judging, but because your body rejects fake energy. It's like being allergic to lies. You don't choose to have an allergy. It just exists. And the stronger the manipulation, the stronger the reaction. The problem is you can't just tell the person. Can't walk up and say, I know you're trying to manipulate me. Because then you become the crazy one. The paranoid one. The one who complicates things. So you just pull away. Create distance. Protect your energy, and let the person wonder what happened. And you know what's saddest? It's realizing these hidden intentions are everywhere. In family, at work, in romantic relationships, in friendships, in every corner of social life. And you get exhausted just thinking about navigating through all this while keeping your sanity intact. Have you ever walked into a place full of people and felt like running away? Not because the place was bad, not because the people were annoying, but because the energy was unbearable? This isn't being dramatic. This is what happens when you become sensitive to collective fakeness. Environments where everyone's performing drain your energy like a black hole. You walk in whole and leave empty. Because you feel every mask, every forced smile, every superficial conversation, every fake laugh. And all of this together creates a toxic atmosphere that you absorb without wanting to. Physical noise you can deal with. You put in headphones, step away a bit, take a deep breath. But emotional noise? There's no escaping that. It sticks to you. enters through your pores, takes up space in your head, and when you leave, you take that suffocating feeling with you. It's like everyone's wearing clothes that are too tight but pretending they're comfortable, and you're the only one who notices nobody can breathe properly, but nobody takes off the clothes. Nobody admits the discomfort. Everyone keeps smiling and saying everything's great. And there you are, in the middle of this collective madness, wondering if you're the one who's gone crazy. There are events you used to enjoy, parties that were fun, gatherings that seemed cool, but now you get there and feel pressure in your chest, a desire to be anywhere else. Not because you became antisocial, but because you can't handle the collective performance anymore. Everyone playing the role they chose for themselves. The funny one who isn't funny, the friendly one who's irritated inside, the successful one who's emotionally bankrupt, the happy one who's destroyed. And nobody takes off the mask for even a second, because taking off the mask is dangerous. It's vulnerable, it's real. So you start choosing your environments carefully, start avoiding places where you know you'll have to perform too, where you'll have to pretend you're having fun, where you'll have to smile when you don't want to. And people find it strange, think you changed, that you got boring, that you lost your spark. But the truth is, you just stopped pretending. And in a world where everyone pretends all the time, whoever stops pretending becomes the problem. There's a funny thing that happens when you wake up. The same people who said they wanted truth start avoiding you, because the truth they wanted was the edited version. The version that doesn't bother anyone. The one that confirms what they already think, not the raw, unfiltered truth. When you say what you really think, without softening it, without sugarcoating it, without doing verbal gymnastics to avoid hurting anyone, you become a threat. You become the one who destabilizes, who takes people out of their comfort zone, who asks questions nobody wants to answer. And there's a subtle hostility that starts appearing. Nothing explicit. Nobody's going to come up and say you're a problem. But you feel it. In the invitations that stop coming. In the conversations that become superficial when you arrive. In the way people change the subject when you say something real. It's because pure honesty bothers those who live behind masks. It's a mirror they don't want to look at. When you speak your truth without fear, you automatically expose others' fakeness. And nobody likes being exposed. Even though you're not trying to expose anyone. Your simple, authentic existence already does it. So they push you away. Put you in a box of difficult person, or heavy energy, or too intense. Any label that justifies not including you anymore. And you're in involuntary social exclusion. Because you didn't ask to be like this. You just can't pretend anymore. And the most ironic part? The same people who push you away are the ones who complain that nobody's genuine nowadays. That everyone's fake. That it's hard to find real people. But when someone truly real shows up, they run. Because real is scary. Real requires you to be real too. And that's work. Have you ever tried having a deep conversation with someone and realized the person just wanted you to agree with them? That they weren't interested in exchanging ideas, but in finding someone to validate what they already think? This is more common than it seems. Most people don't want truth. They want echo. They want someone to repeat back what they said, just with different words. They want confirmation, not reflection. They want comfort, not growth. And when you don't offer that, you become the annoying one who complicates everything. Discussions become impossible because they're not real discussions. They're monologues where each person waits their turn to speak without really listening to the other. And when you try to present a different point of view, no matter how respectful you are, you become the contrarian, the problematic one, the one who likes to argue. And there's a specific discomfort in being the only dissonant voice in a circle of conformity. Everyone agreeing, everyone nodding, everyone repeating the same ideas. And there you are, seeing the flaws in the reasoning, but knowing that if you speak up, you'll become the party pooper. So you stay quiet. Not because you agree, but because you're tired of being the different one. Tired of having to explain your point of view while others just need to repeat common sense. Tired of being looked at like you have 3 heads just because you think outside the box. And this chosen silence isolates you even more. Because now you not only disagree, but you also don't participate. And social participation is about agreement. It's about being part of the herd. When you don't, you're left out. Simple as that. And a chasm starts forming between you and everyone else. A chasm made of unspoken truths, of guarded opinions, of thoughts you don't share anymore because you know you won't be understood. And this chasm only grows, until one day you look to the other side and barely recognize the people who were once close. There's a type of person who deeply irritates those who are awake. The one who preaches one thing and lives something completely different. The success coach who's broke. The self-love influencer who hates herself. The peace preacher who's full of anger. The justice warrior who's unjust to those who disagree. Before, you didn't pay as much attention to this. You thought everyone was somewhat contradictory anyway, that it was part of life. But now this incoherence screams in your face. You can't ignore it anymore. And worse, you can't respect someone who doesn't see their own contradiction. What bothers you most isn't imperfection. Everyone's imperfect. What bothers you is superficial moralism. It's the person who gets on their high horse to teach others while not practicing anything they preach. It's hypocrisy dressed up as wisdom. And you try to have conversations with these people, but it's impossible, because they don't see that they're doing exactly the opposite of what they defend. And if you point it out, you become the attacker, the jealous one, the one trying to tear them down, when in reality you're just pointing out the obvious. Awakening increases this clarity in an almost cruel way. You see patterns others don't see behaviors others ignore, see lies others accept. And this puts you in a position of constant observer. You don't participate in the collective illusion anymore. You just observe from the outside. And there's an exhaustion that comes from this. A fatigue from perceiving all the time. From seeing all the time. From knowing all the time. Because ignorance really is bliss. When you didn't see, you were happier, lighter, more connected. Now you know too much. And knowing too much distances you from everyone still living in the illusion. There's a moment when you realize something liberating, that being alone isn't that scary thing it used to be. Actually, it's a relief. It's the only place where you don't have to perform, where you don't have to pretend, where you can simply be. Conscious solitude is different from isolation. Isolation is when you're alone and feel bad about it, when you want company but don't have it, when you feel rejected or abandoned. Conscious solitude is when you choose to be alone because you prefer your own company to the social theater. And there's a pleasure in this that people don't understand. A pleasure in not having to explain your silences, in not having to justify your choices, in not having to smile when you don't want to, in being able to be exactly who you are without fear of judgment, because the only judgment is yours, and you've already made peace with who you are. But this scares others, because in their minds, nobody really likes being alone. Nobody chooses this, so they think you're depressed, or traumatized, or have some serious problem. Because for them, happiness only exists in groups, only exists with external validation. And when you demonstrate you don't need that validation, you break an unwritten social rule. You show it's possible to be complete alone. And that threatens the whole system. Because if you can be happy without needing anyone, what does that say about those who need? So they try to bring you back, make insistent invitations, say you're isolating yourself too much, that you're missing out on life, that you'll regret it. But the truth is, you've never been more alive, never been more at peace, never been more whole. And there's an immense freedom in this. A freedom that comes from not depending on others' approval to feel good, from not needing an audience to validate your existence, from being enough for yourself. And this freedom, once experienced, is impossible to abandon. You know that person who's always talking about how humble they are? About how they don't care about appearances? About how simple and unattached they are? But everything about them screams the opposite? Well, that's performative humility. And when you wake up, it becomes unbearable. Because real humility doesn't need to be announced. It simply is. It's in actions, not words. The truly humble person doesn't keep reminding everyone how humble they are. They just live, just act, just do. But some people turned humility into a personal brand, into a differentiator, into a source of pride, which in itself already contradicts the whole concept. It's like that phrase, "I'm the most humble person you'll ever meet." If you need to say it, you're not. And you develop a look that identifies this instantly. You see when someone's using humility as a self-promotion strategy, when they're performing simplicity while seeking admiration, when they're pretending to be small to seem big. The tone of voice changes. Body posture contradicts the speech. Eyes seek approval while the mouth talks about detachment. And your internal radar beeps. You feel that repulsion you already know, that allergy to fakeness you can't hide. And the wear and tear of dealing with this type of energy is real, because you can't simply say, "You're not humble, you're just pretending to be." That would be rude, would be offensive. So you just pull away. Once again, another person you can't stand being around. And it becomes increasingly difficult to find people who are genuine, who aren't trying to sell an image, who aren't performing an edited version of themselves. And you realize genuineness has become a rare commodity, has become luxury, has become almost extinct. There's a disturbing discovery that comes with awakening. Most people aren't lying to you. They're lying to themselves. And that's the worst lie of all. Because against a conscious lie, you can defend yourself. But against self-denial, there's no defense. You see people living lives they clearly don't want, staying in relationships that destroy them, working jobs that kill them slowly, maintaining friendships that drain them. And when you ask why they don't change, the answer is always an excuse, always a justification that doesn't even convince them. It's because they lied to themselves so much that they already believe the lie. They've already built a whole narrative to justify their bad choices. They've already convinced themselves they have no option, that it's just the way it is, that everyone goes through this. And the external fakeness you see in them, it's just a reflection of this internal self-denial. They need to pretend everything's okay because they can't admit it's not. Need to smile because if they stop smiling, they'll have to face the sadness. Need to say they're happy because recognizing unhappiness would be admitting they wasted time. And this generates a strange empathy in you, because you understand. You've been there. You also lied to yourself to avoid having to change. Also preferred comfortable illusion to painful truth. Also pretended everything was fine when everything was falling apart. But at the same time, this empathy doesn't make it easier to live with it. Because you can't save anyone. Can't wake anyone up by force. Each person wakes up in their own time. And while they're sleeping, you who are awake can't speak the same language anymore. And there's a deep sadness in this. A sadness of seeing wasted potential, of seeing incredible people sabotaging themselves, of seeing people you love losing themselves in lies they created. But you can't do anything, can only watch, and pull away when their fakeness starts contaminating your truth. You know that type of relationship that only exists because of photos? That looks perfect on social media but is a disaster in real life? That's maintained only because it's too much work to end? Or because people will talk? Well, those are artificial bonds. After awakening, you see these bonds with embarrassing clarity. You notice couples who barely talk but post passionate declarations. Friendships that only exist at public events but have no real intimacy. Families that gather for photos but spend dinner in tense silence. It's all aesthetics, a production, a performance for the world to see. And the effort people make to maintain this facade is impressive. The amount of energy they spend hiding the truth. The amount of emotional juggling they do to sustain the lie. And you see how fragile these bonds are. One crisis is enough. One uncomfortable truth coming to light is enough. Someone stopping pretending for 5 minutes is enough. And everything crumbles. Because there was no foundation. Never was. It was just appearance holding up appearance. And when you confront these relationships with truth, when you dare ask, "But are you really happy?" the reaction is always the same. Denial, irritation, change of subject. Because truth is dangerous. Truth tears down houses of cards. And nobody wants to see their house falling. So they prefer to continue in the lie. Prefer artificial relationship to real solitude. Prefer illusion of connection to emptiness of separation. Even if it's killing them slowly. Even if it's stealing their life. And you naturally pull away. Not because you judge. Not because you think you're better, but because you can't participate in this charade anymore. Can't applaud a relationship you know is empty. Can't pretend you believe the story they tell. And this distance hurts. Because sometimes these people were important to you, were part of your life, but you choose truth. Always truth, even if truth leaves you lonelier. There are psychological games so subtle you don't even realize you're being played, until you wake up. Then you start seeing the pieces moving, start understanding the tactics, start recognizing the patterns. Emotional blackmail disguised as concern. Guilt planted so subtly you don't even notice. Control sold as care. Manipulation wrapped in gift paper with a bow and everything. They're micro-movements, small phrases, strategic looks, calculated silences. And when you see this happening, your body reacts. That feeling in your stomach, that tightness in your chest, that internal alert that doesn't lie. You feel you're being manipulated but often can't prove it, because it's all so subtle, so well done. The person never says directly what they want. They suggest, they insinuate, they plant the idea in your head and make you think you thought of it. It's high-level social engineering. It's velvet manipulation. Soft on the outside, but with steel structure inside. And Awakening teaches you to name these tactics, gives you vocabulary to understand what's happening. Gaslighting, triangulation, projection, stonewalling. Words you didn't know before but now identify in real time. And this makes these dynamics intolerable, because before you even fell for it, thought the problem was you, that you were exaggerating, that you were being difficult. But now you know, you see, you understand the game. So you leave the board, you break away, you disconnect, and the person is confused. Because the tactics that always worked don't work anymore. You don't bite the bait anymore. Don't fall for the trap anymore. Don't play the game anymore. And this frees you, but also isolates you, because you realize how many relationships were based on these games. How many people only knew how to relate through manipulation. And when you take manipulation out of the equation, nothing's left. The relationship was just that. Have you ever tried being honest with someone and saw the person get offended? Ever stated a simple truth and the person reacted like you attacked them? Well, in a world where everyone lies all the time, truth became an offense. People say they want honesty, that they value authenticity, that they admire those who speak their mind. But when you actually speak, when you remove the filter and say things as they are, they accuse you of being rude, of being insensitive, of being cruel. It's because truth is uncomfortable for those who live on appearances. It destabilizes, it questions. It forces the person to look at what they spend their whole life avoiding. And nobody likes that. Nobody wants their illusions destroyed. So they prefer comfortable lies. Prefer that friend who tells them what they want to hear, who softens, who sugarcoats, who protects their ego, even if that protection is preventing growth. And you're stuck in a dilemma. Either you're authentic and lose people, or you're fake and lose yourself. There's no middle ground. You can't be half truthful. Either you are or you're not. And when you choose to be, when you decide you'll speak your truth no matter what, you lose a lot of people. Because authenticity makes you incompatible with the majority who are still asleep, the majority who prefer the lie. And there's a constant conflict between being who you are and being socially accepted, between maintaining your integrity and maintaining your relationships, between truth and belonging. And you discover, the most painful way, that you can't have both. So you choose. And if you're truly awake, you'll always choose truth, even if it leaves you alone, even if it makes you seem difficult, even if it pushes everyone away. Because living in a lie, even accompanied, is lonelier than any solitude. There's a phase after awakening that's one of the hardest. It's when you choose to pull away from fake environments, from toxic people, from situations that drain you. And everyone judges you for it. Everyone has an opinion about your choice. They call you selfish, say you're running away, that you're being proud, that you're abandoning people. They build a narrative where you're the villain of the story, where you're cold, calculating, heartless. Because in a world where everyone endures everything in the name of good coexistence, whoever chooses peace is seen as problematic. Whoever sets boundaries is seen as rigid. Whoever says no is seen as difficult. And they try to guilt you, try to make you feel bad about your choice. Use phrases like, family is family, or a real friend doesn't abandon, or you'll regret it. They try to plant doubt, try to make you question your own sanity. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Choosing your peace isn't selfishness, it's survival. It's self-preservation. It's mental health. You have no obligation to destroy yourself to make others happy. You don't have to stay in places that make you sick. And there's a process of freeing yourself from this imposed guilt, of unlearning the idea that you owe something to those who hurt you, of understanding that loyalty to yourself comes before loyalty to anyone else. Because in the end, you're the only person who'll be with you until the last day. You're the only guaranteed company. So why should you sacrifice your well-being for the comfort of those who don't really care about you? And when you finally accept your own lucidity, when you stop apologizing for seeing what you see, something changes. You stop trying to convince others. Stop trying to prove you're right. You simply live your truth in peace. And that's liberating. It's like taking a 200-pound weight off your back. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Don't owe justification. Don't owe satisfaction. Your life is yours. Your choices are yours. And whoever doesn't understand, that's their problem. Look, if you made it this far, it's because something in this text resonated with you. It's because you're probably going through or have gone through this awakening. And I want you to know something. There's nothing wrong with you. You didn't become annoying. You're not the problem. You just woke up. And waking up in a world of sleeping people is indeed lonely. But it's real. It's true. And at the end of the day, it's better to be alone in truth than accompanied in a lie. Because lies consume, but truth liberates. So keep going. Keep seeing. Keep being authentic. Keep choosing your peace. The world needs more people awake, even if it doesn't know it yet. If this text made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. This helps this content reach more people who are going through the same thing. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.